How did we come to Africa? It was because we went through Gilead. We attended the 47th class of Gilead, and that was in 1969. Our first assignment was in the Belgian Congo, which is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. When we got our assignment, we were not overjoyed. All we'd heard about the Congo was war, atrocities, mercenaries, so we weren't excited. In fact, Suzanne cried all night. But we had promised to serve Jehovah with our whole soul, and we had said, here we are, send us. And so we accepted the assignment.
When we first arrived in a small mining town in Katanga, we were arrested as soon as we got off the plane. Then there was nobody to meet us. The telegram, which had been sent 3 days earlier, arrived on the same plane. The missionaries had all returned to their home countries for the international conventions. So when we eventually arrived at the missionary home, it was empty and there were only big dead cockroaches and bullet holes in the walls. So we were alone for 3 weeks until the other missionaries arrived. The next hurdle to overcome was to get used to a complete new culture and also to learn 2 languages. Communication with our families was also a problem. There was no internet, no phones. The only way was by letters. And it took 3 weeks, or almost 4 weeks, for a letter to get to our families and another 4 weeks to get a reply.
For years, we traveled in the bush, doing circuit and district work. This meant living in the villages, in mud huts, and so we would get water from the river, use candles for our power, our electricity there, and charcoal to do our cooking on. We had toilets outside, a hole in the ground. It was real village life. To get there, we had to travel on roads that were often almost non-existent or very, very bad. Rocky, deep sand, muddy. When it was muddy, it was deep mud and we'd get stuck. In fact, one trip we did, 2,000 kilometers, took us 10 days. A lot of it was sand, and one day we only went 70 kilometers, and we had to dig the vehicle out 12 times. But we got there with Jehovah's help. And as far as we were concerned, this was missionary life. This was real missionary life. This is what we'd come to do. We felt closer to Jehovah when we were in the bush under those difficult circumstances than we ever have. It was great. We loved it. And it's really a big part of our life.
Some ask us if we ever desire to return to Europe. Truthfully, yes, but only very momentarily.
The work was under ban for 10 years. Carrying on a religion that was banned was a prison sentence of between 5 and 10 years in prison. And we'd been caught carrying on a religion that was banned. We were in custody for 18 days. Nobody knew we were under arrest, the branch or the missionary homes, because we were so deep in the bush. We were 2,000 kilometers away from the branch. So it was just us and Jehovah. Well, we saw Jehovah's hand. He heard our prayers and he answered us. For example, we were running out of money and a complete stranger offered us $200 US. And that was a lot of money in those days. The man that handled our court case was very kind. He made a new statement, and at the end he wrote, "I know of no law that prohibits me from visiting my Christian brothers." And with that he said, "You're free to go." And what a wonderful feeling it is to be free.
After we had experienced Jehovah's help and support, how could we be so ungrateful as to want to leave our assignment? That is why I said that it was only for a moment that we wanted to return to Europe.
Another time at a small bush assembly, there was the threat that it would be stopped by the authorities. So that the brothers would get spiritual food, I divided them into two groups. One group sat outside the assembly arena, and the other half was inside. I put on a pair of shorts, a vest, a hat, and sat in a camp chair and gave my talk, so that if any authorities came, I would say I'm only rehearsing. Anyway, when the first half had heard, the others came in, I gave the talk again. On the day of the assembly, the zone commissioner came, and he said we couldn't continue until he checked something. He sent his men around to check who had not paid the tax, because lies had been said about Jehovah's Witnesses that we don't pay tax. And he was so surprised when they came back and said, "Boss, everybody's paying." And so he stood up and he said, "Okay, you can carry on with your assembly." We were so grateful to Jehovah for that.
Zambia is a real preaching paradise. People are humble, they are God-fearing, and with Jehovah's help, we have been able to help more than 130 people to come to baptism. So we are happy in our assignment.
What began 46 years ago with tears and fear of the unknown has turned out to be a wonderful blessing, full of privileges and joy. We've seen firsthand how Jehovah's cared for us. In fact, He's opened out the floodgates of heaven and poured out a blessing.
As we look back over the years, we're absolutely convinced that the blessings outweigh the hardships.
If we had the chance, we'd do it all over again.